I'm not smart.
Hi, welcome to BakaKon.
Is there a season?
I'm Jeff Smith, and welcome to my panel. Yeah.
Is there a test after this?
No.
We're starting now.
I don't know Japanese.
He's so tilted.
This part I recognize.
Look how sweaty he is.
Trying to play stuff he knows to place himself properly in the world.
I don't rewatch part 2 of SAO. No one does.
Yeah, it's the best part.
No,
the tentacles.
Yeah, you did.
Perv. She's under 18.
Hey.
Hi, welcome to my panel at BakaTaka Con 2020.
It's BakaKon.
I'm your panelist.
Should we be timing this?
Jeff Smith. No, it's not school, but it's gonna kind of be school. So, before we start, how many of you have seen the eponymous Neon Genesis Evangelion?
Ooh, I have.
All right. So you're gonna see. There are gonna be a lot of spoilers. So if you want to watch this, if you've seen Neon Genesis Evangelion, the show and/or the movie, no, there's no nudity.
Oh.
Yeah, there is.
No, in my panel.
Oh, okay.
No, there are no hospital beds.
What's that supposed to mean?
And is there anything else I need to cover?
Jizzing in your hand.
That's the hospital bed.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's the best. Anyway, this is gonna
Soliciting sex
be
from a minor.
this is gonna be a comparison between what we've seen in history with individualism versus collectivism and how those things play themselves out in Neon Genesis Evangelion. So, what is Neon Genesis Evangelion? Well, it's a mecha anime, but it's not just any mecha anime. Can somebody tell me who created, developed, produced? Somebody.
You can
Guess.
guess.
Anyone.
Dekiano.
Yeah, what was wrong with him?
He was crazy.
Yes, very crazy. What studio?
Dynamics.
Which later, after people defected or ran out of money because they took people's jobs, end up becoming
Gundam.
Trigger.
Trigger.
So, this is
Oh, I like
so a lot of the same themes you'll see in Trigger anime are found here in Evangelion. Anyway, Evangelion deconstructs the mecha genre. Anybody that's not familiar with the mecha genre, this specifically deals with a lot of crazy stuff Hidekiano was going through at the time, depression, all this bullcrap.
Yeah, he a
We're gonna focus on a big conflict Evangelion talks about, but none of this other mega nonsense that went on, and that's individualism and collectivism and how that stuff plays itself out today. So, first of all, you have to understand some concepts with this, and it goes back to what these old guys talked about in a social contract. Anybody know what a social contract is? Through anime.
Is that what Cube did?
Kind of, but not the same. So it's like that, but it's a contract people make with other people to make sure they don't kill other people.
Okay.
Makes sense? So there's two kinds of agreements that go on with a social contract. Latin phrases, pactum unius and subjectionis. One of them is you're supposed to live at peace and harmony with each other. And the other one, people are supposed to obey authority over them. If you don't have either of those things, people are going to kill each other. How philosophers interpreted these two ideas when people make social contracts with each other dictates how much individualism or collectivism you're going to have within your society. So, these two opposing ideas. First of all, this old dude, John Locke, is an English, or was an English Enlightenment professor in whatever, Cambridge or something, that was in the school of Baconian empiricism. He argued that people should have individual rights because he looked at the social contract and said, by natural law, people have stuff they get from Earth, and that stuff is theirs. So if somebody else wants their stuff, you have to make deals with people to get said stuff. We see the same concept played out today, naturally, in capitalism. I have something, you want the thing, what are you gonna do to get the thing I have?
Pay you.
Or you could kill me, but that would be stupid, so you would pay me. I put a thing down there.
Just a note, that's from the game Reciteer, if anybody wants to play.
Yes, it's a very good game. The quote
About
there
collectivism and
is a
individualism?
cute little girl that says capitalism ho. Not like
She
H-O-E
actually
ho.
says that?
Yes,
Yeah.
capitalism ho.
I like
It's
it.
a really funny weeby game. But anyway,
H-O-E or H-O?
H-O. Capitalism ho. Yes. Individualism, how we see it constructed today, generally the ideas come from this guy. Jean-Jacques Rousseau gives us the ideas of the collective. This dude also came out of the Enlightenment, but he argued that the social contract dictated that people would only have communal happiness when they pool all their sources together, any idea and concept of having your own stuff, he saw as people falling away from grace because it isn't the natural habitat people encompassed. People are animalistic and naturalistic, and they want stuff, but they need other people to also give them stuff, hence mobs and whatever else. This would eventually give ideas to people like Karl Marx, which perpetuated the supremacy of the state over the supremacy of the person, every man with his abilities working for every man's need, which snowballed itself into this handsome gentleman down here. So it isn't always the best of ideas, but it's another way of looking at the social contract.
Was that Hitler?
That's Hitler.
Okay.
Yeah, that's anime Hitler. I hope you zoomed in on anime Hitler.
Oh, definitely.
Perfect.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
simplifying things as succinctly as we can, John Locke argued for individualistic societies. You gotta be responsible for yourselves, for your things. Government should divest as much of that liberty to people so they can decide for themselves. Jean-Jacques Rousseau argued almost for the opposite. People are responsible for themselves not only, but also for others, and the government needs to dictate how that is to be dispersed, and they're the ones who should hold all the power for people to have any say with any other peoples, forming a collective mindset. Where do we see these ideas play themselves out today? So, on the left, you see individualism at its finest, and on the right, you see collectivism at its finest. You see people wanting to keep the things that they own and the things that they want to be responsible for, and you see other people pretty much saying, join the mob, and we will take whatever the heck that we want, because the mob dictates what's natural law, what should be given to people, and what shouldn't be given to people. How do these ideas play themselves out in Evangelion? There's two big things that happen in the Evangelion that are going to be gigantic spoilers, but if you know what they are, what's the thing we have here on the left? Anybody?
Robot.
Video game?
No.
Robot.
Well, yes. But what's the thing specifically we see
A
here?
Mac.
That's their
Range.
AT unit and their AT field.
Yes, the AT field. What do you see here on the right?
Blood water.
Nope.
The collective,
I mean, kind of.
the collective primordial soup.
You see LCL, which is basically a blood soup, kind of. What does all this mean in Evangelion? Here's what it means. So, individualism, the AT field. AT in Evangelion stands for the absolute terror field. It's a protective shield in Evangelion that you see the mechs develop when they're under attack by stuff. Which unit is that? Unit 1, you see early in Evangelion, put up a shield when it gets attacked by one of the angels, and you see it tear through one of the other angels whenever it wants to destroy it. Every Evangelion unit, every angel unit can produce these things. Also, as the show goes along, you see humans also somehow develop AT fields, which makes your head scratch a little bit when you're watching the show, because you thought only these gigantic mechs and these gigantic aliens could produce these things. How can that happen? Well, spoilers, as you watch the show, the very first angel, Adam, when he caused the second impact on Earth, there were some shenanigans that happened during second impact. When he was discovered, people found out that the angels came from this person. Before second impact, there was a first impact. The first impact was this being called Lilith. Lilith, when it landed, produced humans, people found out. So when they find Lilith in the actual show, they think it's one of the angels. They didn't end up realizing it's not one of the angels classically classified. It's its own separate being, that's its own separate race. Humans end up coming from this race. The angels end up coming from the race of Adam. Both of these races can develop AT fields. What does that mean for us? AT fields get projected by individual beings, whether angels, whether humans, and those fields protect people with whatever things they possess themselves or internally, whether it's your emotions, whether it's your mech, whether it's whatever. So this idea of the individual is capsulized in the AT field. You guys get it? You guys get it?
Yeah.
Makes sense? It isn't played out a lot. I mean, it is played out in the show, but it's just kind of like psycho jargon they throw at you, and they don't really explain what on earth it is. But as it goes on, the last couple episodes don't make any sense unless you know what the AT field is trying to communicate to you. Because when the last couple episodes hit, all of this stuff happens. So this is what is known as LCL in Evangelion. Anybody have any idea what LCL is? The letters don't mean anything. They don't stand for anything. But you guys remember what LCL was.
Live comfortable lives.
Not quite.
Like what LCL literally stands for, or what it is?
What it is.
It's a soup of everybody's collective consciousness coming together so they can live perfect, peaceful lives.
So originally, when Lilith crash landed on the Earth first time around, or the very first being that landed on the Earth, its blood is a substance that infuses the mechs so the pilots can actually pilot the mechs. They use the blood of their own ancestors to pilot something that is derivative of the angels. You find out later in Evangelion, the units that they're fighting the angels with are technically angels themselves. So they're humans encapsulated in angels that are using the blood of humans to power the things that they're fighting against. It's really kind of crazy. What does this have to do with us? In collectivism, it's exactly what Eric says. You'll find out later in Evangelion, there's this gigantic bullcrap thing that everybody's trying to get to have happen, and it's called the Human Instrumentality Project. And basically what this is, they're trying to take all the humans that are on Earth and using random plot devices, trying to figure out how you can turn all these people into this gigantic primordial soup to turn them into one gigantic collective. And you do that by tearing down their AT fields so they can become this gigantic soup. There's a bunch of nuances in how exactly this happens, but that's the general premise once you get to the very end of Evangelion. Everybody wants to try to instrument their own kind of human instrumentality. And people think that this is going to solve why they have so many issues being individuals. Shinji has a lot of issues with his dad. There's a lot of dad problems. Asuka has a lot of problems with her mom committing suicide. She has lots of mom problems. How do we deal with all of these issues humans deal with? Depression, rejection, suicide, whatever. LCL is the cure. If we can somehow reduce everybody down into this one collective, we can be one big happy family. Shinji Ikari says, hey, maybe this is the right answer. Maybe this is what we have to do. His dad's trying to do that. He's got daddy problems. Maybe this is the direction that we need to go in. Is this going to fix the problems that everybody has? So you get into the very end of Evangelion, and it's really dumb and stupid because they ran out of budget. So you get a bunch of stuff that goes on in Shinji's head the entire time. But he basically grapples with instrumentality. It happens. You have the last 2 episodes of the show, you have the movie, End of Evangelion, and the show is what happens in the movie, but inside Shinji's head. And he's contemplating and debating whether or not he wants instrumentality to actually happen, because it happens in the movie. Whole bunch of crazy crap happens, everybody turns into this goop, this sea of stuff. All of them turn into this disgusting blood stuff, and Shinji's floating around in this thinking, have we actually solved issues? If we get rid of our AT fields, if we get rid of our individualism and pool into this collective, are we actually going to solve the issues everybody has as humans when we deal with other humans at an individual level? He's given the choice at some point at the end of this movie, basically saying, hey, do you want to continue to live in this soup, or do you want to get out of it? Everybody has that option. If you want to stay, cool. If you don't want to stay, whatever. But everyone's going to have that option at the end of Evangelion. What does Shinji do? He says, I'm out of here. This is dumb and stupid. People have got to try to figure out what their problems are without mobbing into this collective pool. So he jumps out of there. Later on, after some unspecific amount of time, another girl also jumps out of it, and some weird, crazy things happen that don't make any sense at the end of Evangelion. But basically, the show tries to encapsulate this huge problem Anno was having at the time, the director. He was going through crippling depression, and he was debating and deliberating a lot of these points internally, whether or not, is it worth living? How do I deal with these problems if I do want to live? Is the individual really that important? Is the collective of Japan more important than my own happiness? And he pushes all of those ideas into the show. It doesn't really give us a whole lot of solutions, but he does give us the overall gist of where this anime is going. Most people think it's a mecha. It is, but it deconstructs the genre and is basically trying to get away from the Gundam idea of mechas and say, hey, all the issues that kids have, if you just jump in the mecha and do things, you're going to solve issues. And Otto's like, not so much. If you do that, bad things happen. So he made this. He also ends up making the Rebuild series because a lot of people didn't like Evangelion. Either the series and how it ended, or the movie, because the movie kind of trolls people who watch the series because they didn't get it. They want the big mecha battle. So he says, fine, I'm gonna give it to you, and it's exactly what you see happen at the end of Evangelion. It's just what's outside of Shinji's head. Human instrumentality happens and all its insanity, and everybody turns into goop. But you're still left with the same questions during the movie as you are in the series. Everybody goes through the collective at this point. Is that actually what you want to give up in your individualism, or is it more important to take responsibility for yourself, even if it's stupid? So in summary, here's the issues we have today. There's the individual and there's the collective. It's seen in anime. Somebody who dealt with it in anime decided to make a mecha about it, and he says, hey, are you going to deal with this as well? Are you going to accept the fact that we're individuals and we have these problems and go along with being individuals? Or are you going to say, nah, it's the mob we want to jump into. The mob has the answers we're looking for, regardless of whatever the individual says. And Otto says, here's what every human has to deal with whatever problem we have. Hopefully you get that watching the anime. If you don't, I'm going to troll you anyway because you didn't get it and you just wanted robots fighting monsters or whatever, so here you go. And that's the panel, I guess. Questions? Yes.
Didn't Otto make billions of yen off of Evangelion and evade taxes?
Yes.
Good for him.
Very individual of him. Yes.
What's that weird head that's white in the background of that one picture?
Lilith.
That.
Oh, that's Lilith.
So, in Evangelion, this girl is a clone of his mom that's inside that monster. And she says, hey, I'm the source that's gonna start instrumentality. So all this crazy stuff happens, and she says, hey, Shinji, here's what everybody wanted to do, here's what we think is gonna solve your problems. Maybe it doesn't. And if you don't think it does, back out of this thing. And Shinji says, cool, nah, I don't want anything to do with that. And when he does, this gigantic naked version of that pretty much dies and blows up, and its head detaches from everything, and the blood spews out everywhere, and Shinji crawls up on this island. He's like, oh, well, that wasn't how we solve everything, but I'm here alone now, so what do I do? And he just stares at that for who knows however long, and then Oscar, whoever that is, comes up later. It's really trippy and messed up. So Anno decided, hey, let's turn Evangelion into a set of movies. But when you start watching the first movie, you're like, hey, some of the results that happened at the end of Evangelion are in the first movie, but it's everything that's in the first episode. So what's going on here? Basically, we have no idea what's going on. Because the same themes that were happening in the series are not what's happening in the rebuilds.
He made it more of an actual mecha.
Yeah, so we have no idea where it's going. It's absolutely insane, but...
Is it currently going on?
Define going on.
They've announced movie 4 like 4 different times now.
Yes, over 8 years.
Dude,
and apparently...
Is it like the future?
Is it going to come out in the future?
No, is it the future of Evangelion, or is it two separate things?
We were not sure. It's supposed to be like a retelling of the series, but we're not sure. We don't know if it's a time loop. We don't know if it's just like, hey, here's Gurren Lagann the series, but we just want to translate it into movies, and there's some differences, but it's basically the series. They thought it was going to be that, and then episode 3 happened.
What's Gurren Lagann?
The rebuilds don't touch on the same themes that the series touched on, so we're all just kind of sitting and waiting what's going on there. We think it's going to be this perpetual idea of you're repeating things, and repeating things is stupid, so I'm tired of making this anime, so I'm giving you garbage. We think that's what the rebuilds are trying to communicate, but we're not 100% sure, because Anno doesn't want to go back and tell us anything. He just likes to troll people and dress up as Vector Man and run around everywhere. everywhere. So
And tax evade.
yes, but this same idea, if you remember from Kill la Kill, basically the same thing there,
Yeah.
right? You had the individuals, and then you have this cloth being thing that wants to absorb everything and turn everyone into this one collective and this crazy woman who's like, and then this lady's like, hey, I want to do that, and her daughters are like, sorry, spoilers, daughters are like, no, that's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
I don't want clothes to rule me. So those same ideas that they've been doing at Gynex are in Trigger too. It's this whole individual versus the mob mentality, and it goes all the way back, even pre-Evangelion. I think he did these things in, was Gunbusters before this?
Gunbusters before.
But yeah, those same themes are throughout all Gynex kind of works. It's in Gurren Lagann too, actually.
Well, I mean, not all of them.
Most of them. It's a theme somewhere. It might not
Because
be
you have
the
Maha
theme.
Romantic, and you have Karakano.
which definitely are like related in this.
But it's a common theme that Gynex / Trigger anime touch upon, and a lot of it stemmed from Ono himself. So
Cool.
thank you.
I didn't see enough boobs.